Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has experienced a notable shift in opinion within the Democrat Party over the years. This transformation in perception can be traced through several key phases, reflecting not only changes in his public persona, but also the evolving dynamics within the party itself. Initially, Kennedy's reputation was largely built on his environmental activism.
We're protecting those forests because we believe the trees have more value to humanity standing than they would have if we cut them down. We believe our lives are going to be richer and our communities are going to be richer and our children's lives are going to be richer if we live in a world where there are shad and sturgeon and striped bass in the Hudson River, and where our children can go to the banks and see the fishermen doing what they've been doing for generations, and where they can reach out and touch those things that men fixing their nets and waiting for the tides, and in that way connect themselves to 350 years of New York State history and understand that they're part of something that's larger than themselves, that they're part of a continuum, that they're part of a community. And I don't want my children growing up in a world where there are no commercial fishermen.
His work was often lauded, and he was viewed as a pretty good figure within the party, advocating for policies that resonated with core Democrat values. When Obama was up for his first run as president, he was seriously considering RFK as his pick for head of the Environmental Protection Agency. Remember that? So how did we go from that to this?
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You have said
You're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are.
Let's go back to the beginning of the thick of it. RFK led this nonprofit from 2015 up until his run for the presidency. The main thing that the Democrats don't like about it is its position that there's a strong link between the rise of autism and use of vaccines. Many articles on the National Library of Medicine, the CDC, and so on, went ahead to say that there's no evidence of there being a causal link between autism and vaccines. Now, if you know me and this channel, I am not sympathetic to the Democrats at all. But let's just grant this argument. I'm not entirely against vaccines, but I did have a lot of reservations for the one made for the COOF, and so did the Children's Health Defense. They've written at length about how ineffective the vaccines were for the COOF and the questionable nature of how fast they were made in comparison to how long vaccines normally take to be ready for the public. Remember, the COOF had a 99% survival rate. 99%. And then on top of that, the Children's Health Defense and other treatments such as hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin also made Democrats not like RFK as much as they used to. Ivermectin in particular has a meta-analysis of 65 different studies showing it is a viable treatment for the COOF. That went against the leftist Democrat narrative that they were safe and effective, and you needed to keep on getting boosters for a virus that had a 99% survival rate.
We spent $16 trillion on the lockdown. We wasted, got nothing for it. $8 trillion on the Ukraine war. That's $24 trillion that they had to print to pay for nothing. That money, the way they're paying it back, they're not going to tell us they're raised taxes because you can't do that. It's a hidden tax called inflation, and it hits the poor and the middle class, and it has dismantled the middle class in this country. Well, my friends' food bills for basic foods like chicken, dairy, and eggs has increased 76% in 2 years to pay for the Iraq war, or the Ukraine war, the Iraq war, and the lockdowns. His food prices are going up. And now the government's telling him, while we have plenty of money for the military and the banks, we don't have it for Americans who are, hardworking people. And, something is not right.
Eventually, RFK decided to leave the Democrat primary and run as an independent. This move was interpreted by many in the Democrat Party as an acknowledgement of his misalignment with the party's values. His independent run was seen by some as an attempt to exploit his name recognition to appeal to a broader electorate, including those disillusioned with both major parties. Many of his own family came out against him during this announcement, saying, "Bobby might share the same name as our father, but he does not share the same values, vision, or judgment. Today's announcement is deeply saddening for us." He denounced his candidacy and believed it to be perilous for our country. However, you also had people on the left that were really happy about this announcement, saying that the DNC can't put him down. By 2025, the Democrat Party's perception of RFK had shifted significantly. He was no longer seen primarily as an environmental advocate, but rather as a figure whose political positions were out of sync with the party's direction. And this was a big problem for them because RFK took a sizable chunk out of their base during the 2024 presidential run. So with all that in mind, there are two eye-opening moments in the Senate hearings that I wanted to highlight.
Look, no one should be fooled here. As Secretary of HHS, Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country. And for all of his talk about follow the science and his promise that he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate his kids, the bottom line is the same. Kennedy can kill off access to vaccines and make millions of dollars while he does it. Kids might die, but Robert Kennedy can keep cashing in.
Pro-vaccine, you want to ask questions. You have started a group called the Children's Health Defense. You're the originator. Right now, as I understand it, on their website, they are selling what's called onesies. These are little things, clothing for babies. One of them is titled Unvaxxed, Unafraid. Next one, and they're sold for $26 a piece, by the way. Next one is No Vax, No Problem. Now, you're coming before this committee and you say you're pro-vaccine. Just want to ask some questions. And yet your organization is making money selling a child's product to parents for $26, which casts fundamental doubt on the usefulness of vaccines. Can you tell us now that you will, now that you are pro-vaccine, that you're going to have your organization take these products off the market?
Senator, I have no power over that organization. I'm not part of it. I resigned from the board.
Yeah, that was just a few months ago. You founded that. You certainly have power. You can make that call. Are you supportive of this?
I've had nothing to do with leadership.
Are you supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines. I will. I want good science, and I want to protect the
But you will not tell the organization you founded not to continue selling that product. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the
Now I want to point out that both Pocahontas and Sanders have taken a lot of money from the pharmaceutical industry. Sanders just a month before the hearing was up for joining RFK against ultra-processed food. Here he says, when Kennedy talks about an unhealthy society, he's right. The amount of chronic illness that we have is just extraordinary. Anybody with a brain in his or her head wants to deal with this issue to get to the cause of the problem. I think processed food and the kind of sugar and salt that we have in products that our kids and adults are ingesting is an important part of addressing that crisis. Well, it clearly wasn't during the Senate hearing. Instead, you were giving a nice performative dance for your pharmaceutical overlords because of what some code said. Now that the Dems have turned on RFK, he's gotten himself ingratiated with the Republicans, which has had a tremendous impact on getting him confirmed through all the Senate hearings he's gone through so far. Not to mention that he won a lawsuit against a Daily Kos article that tried to defame his character. RFK has really reinvented himself quite a bit. It'll be interesting to see how his story will continue to unfold. But anyway, thank you for watching. Leave a like and comment what you think. I hope you found this useful, and if not, I thank you for watching this far anyway. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and see you on the next one.